Welcome back to Modern Homestead Alaska, where today we are going to process hundreds of apples. I got a phone call that if I would come and harvest the apples, I could have them for free. And we got hundreds of these tiny little crab apples here in Alaska. I have some fresh eating apples, and I have some more applesauce going in the pot behind me. When you get a phone call like that, you have got to jump on it. So regardless of what my plans to record actually were, I needed to be diligent for my family, be financially prudent, and be able to go collect and harvest these things. So today I'm gonna take you along and share with you what we did with those crab apples, and I created, spoiler alert, an amazing recipe in this video. Honest to God, we make it up together. You're really gonna enjoy this. I hope that you join me today. Let's get into it. Welcome to our vlog. We are the Milnes family. We started building a modern homestead outside of Wasilla, Alaska in the summer of 2021. That's my husband, Aaron. I am Jessica, a stay-at-home wife and mom. Our second son, Caleb, lives here with us, along with our daughter, Cody Ann, and the youngest of our family, Wyatt. We brought our two dogs, Tipper and Daisy, and got a new addition, the Alaska dog, Roberto. All right, here's one of the 2 bags this size of apples that I have. And you can see as we start to kind of get into them is some of them are starting to go south. And then the rest of them are some ugly ones, but nice and firm. This is a crab apple, which is extremely, beyond anything I expected, a tart apple. This one bag is probably only 1 or 2 limbs off of the crab apple tree out of probably 100. It just produced such a massive amount. So we're going to do a spiced crab apple where we're going to be able to leave these whole, and then we're just going to be running our electric pressure canner, and we're just going to can them for just 20 minutes until we've worked our way through a ridiculous amount of crab apples. So what I'm doing is I'm just going to get them into the strainers. I'm going to get them washed, and then we'll get them separated into jars. All right, so I have all of these cleaned apples, and as I put them in the jar, I'm going to take the furry stuff off of the back, and I ended up with this much. They're damaged to where you don't want to like can them whole, so I'm going to have to try to make applesauce or something out of those so we're not wasting literally the same amount as what we're canning. So a little change in the middle because they are closer to going out than they are fresh. They are fresh. I picked them off of the tree just this week, but they are pretty ripe when I picked them. So I found this recipe online. Everyone said just kind of Google it, and I spent hours reading this spiced pickled crab apples. So they're pickled even though they have the apple cider vinegar, and I'm going to hope that it kind of counteracts how tart and sour they are, but I'm told it's amazing. And so I'll link this exact Pinterest link in the description box, although I'm, of course, doing my own thing. So to each jar, well, let's not do jars. Let's get our brine going, and our brine is going to be 2.5, let me see what I'm doing here. Okay, 4.5 cups of white sugar. I got that pre-measured here. I'm gonna put that in my big stock pot here. 3 cups of water. And then 2, this is 2. Yeah, that's 2. 2.5 cups of raw apple cider vinegar. Okay. And then we're going to heat this. And it should be a sweet pickle, obviously. And then to each one of the jars now, my electric canner holds 5 of these. So to each one, I have a whole cinnamon stick, 3 allspice berries, and then 3 whole cloves. 2, 3. Okay, so I'm gonna do that. And then what I'm gonna come through and do is, I'll just use this bowl. Let me situate myself here. We're going to just nip this furry end. It says, and then make sure that the stem is gone, or it says that it'll make them tart. And then I'm just gonna push that just like that, making sure the apple has a little bit of a pierce so that it's not blowing up when we can it. So. All right, and now I'm going to fill each jar with this hot liquid, leaving 1 inch of head space. After you filled all the jars, you want to use something and try and get any air bubbles that could be in the jar out. I was making sure that the apples would go down into the liquid. I then use white vinegar to clean all of the sealed edges. It is a sticky substance, the vinegar and the sugar mixture. And so continue on just getting all of the cans ready, and then they'll head to the canner. To run the canner, so we have our 5 jars. We want to plug it in. We want to put similar temperature water as what's in there. That's enough. Lock. Push high, 20 minutes. Push start. It's going to build pressure. We want this right now on exhaust. And then once it vents for 10 minutes, we'll put it on airtight. And we have to do nothing. Once it tells us it counts down, we just put it on airtight. And once it pressurizes, it literally starts counting down the 20 minutes by itself. While that's happening, I can just go over here, continue to fill jars, but we're also going to do applesauce. Let me show you how. Because these have some damaged spots on them, we don't want to can them whole, like I was saying earlier, but we don't want to waste them either. Otherwise, like, this whole thing would be wasted, and this is only half of 1 bag. Has made 10 jars plus this, and then the little bit of waste that's down there. So I'm gonna take these and leave them whole, but it says if you leave the stem on it that it becomes bitter. I don't know, because when I make applesauce or apple butter normally, I'm using such big apples that there wouldn't be stems. So I'm just gonna go through and pull any stems off. Anything along this line, that's too far gone. That is just too far gone. We are not gonna salvage that, so we will compost it, no problem. But the rest of this will run through a food mill, and the food mill will separate the skins and the seeds or anything that we don't want from the pulp for us. So Let's just get these in here, and then I'm gonna cover them with water and boil them just like you would potatoes. I'll bring you back. All right, we have this amount. This is my biggest stock pot. It is huge. They are covered in water even though they're floating. And then we are going to boil them, I'm thinking like 15 minutes maybe, because they are really small. And then also they're a very soft apple so we just want to be able to process it through a food mill is all. So we want them to be falling apart though. So I turn on the stove and we're just gonna let this go. I'm just taking the first set out of the canner, and then you just screw the lid on a little bit tighter. That's what my dad always taught me to do. And then look, we don't wanna rock it around too much, but look how dark. It's really beautiful. Okay, these are done. They're just completely busting and falling apart, and time has gone away. It's almost 8 o'clock. So I'm gonna strain these, and then tomorrow I'll bring you right back, and we're gonna run these through the food mill and make a spiced applesauce out of them. So I'll be right back. All right, we're going to make the applesauce. So I have a hand crank food mill, which would probably be better. I'm gonna show you, I've now torn apart half of my kitchen to figure this out. I was watching another homestead channel, and she had this sauce master, and she was doing her tomatoes. And I had to have one because I have so many garden tomatoes. I want to make salsa, so on. So I got this thing. And the height of it is awful. So unless you have someone that can build you contraptions, I'm gonna ask Aaron if he can, I'm sure that he can, build me something. What I've had to do in order to use this thing today, we're gonna try it out to make applesauce, we'll see in a minute, is I had to go get a chunk of the countertop that we cut off when we built the kitchen. I have a bucket on a chair under the bowl because this bowl doesn't fit under it. So this is my regular countertop. I can't put a bowl under that thing. Okay, so we have that going on. And then I needed something to weigh it down, so I got my 2 heaviest buckets out of the pantry here. And then I've got to put another bowl here, which this thing has to be on the edge of a countertop, and then it'll shoot out. Whew. So we have her set up. Let's go ahead and give it a try. We're gonna try and make some applesauce. All right, so here are all of our apples from last night that we boiled, and they're nice and squishy. I wrapped them up and kept them in the fridge overnight, and let me see. So let's just start with a scoop. Oh, another bowl. All right, so let's just start with a scoop and see how it does. Only because I do not want to I don't know what I have done wrong. It is clearly not working as intended, and I am putting a lot of effort in. And now, after I went back to edit the video and watch the video, I am just curious if you see what I do different between this and the next. Leave it in the comment section. I'll let you know if you caught it. Okay, get in here. I don't know what I did originally, but I I took it apart, put it back together, and it's working now. I'm gonna be honest, and I'm still not recommending this sauce master for apples. If that's what you're processing, I will let you know and use it for other things, I'll be honest. The other thing I figured out and will change on the next batch is I am going to run it through a second time to see if I couldn't get more apple. All right, to make this applesauce, I'm gonna make it spiced. I needed to measure it. And what I wanna do is taste it. Just taste the straight apples and see how tart they are cooked this way. On the front end of the tongue, they're actually quite sweet. Because I'm making this up, I know how to make applesauce because this is a really tart applesauce, and these apples pair really well with some spices. Just kind of mimicking that for the fall time and carrying that through. I'm using another one of Erin's grandmother's recipes that my mother-in-law passed on to me. So it's an apple butter recipe, and so apple butter in comparison to like an apple jelly. So to make apple jelly, if you have 5 cups of jelly or liquid apple juice, you have 5 cups of sugar. Well, if you have 5 cups of apple sauce for apple butter, you only have 2.5 cups of sugar. So you literally use half of the amount of sugar to make a butter, whether it's pumpkin, apple, pear, so on, than you would to make a jam or a jelly. The other thing is that it's spiced. So the spices she uses is cinnamon, allspice, and clove. I'm gonna dial it way, way back because I'm not cooking it down and making an apple butter, but by adding the sugar, I'll be able to hot water bath this applesauce. So I think instead of a half of a cup for every cup of apples, I'm gonna do a 1/4 cup of sugar, maybe not even that much. So somewhere around there, and then I'm probably for this amount going to do like 2 teaspoons of cinnamon, and then like a 1/4 teaspoon of allspice and a 1/4 teaspoon of clove. So we'll see how that tastes. I can always add a little more spices to it before I jar it up, but let's get it in the pan and see how it comes together. Okay, so isn't that a beautiful color though? I think this is gonna be really, really pretty. So in my pan, I'm just gonna put the 7 cups. The reason I moved it into this container is just to measure it so we know what we're doing, and then I can document this recipe later, but there's no way it's not going to be good. So I decided as I grab the sugar, I'm gonna do 6 1/4 cups. So that would be a 1.5 cups. Okay, and then what do we say? We said 2 teaspoons of cinnamon, but let me start with 1. Let's get some heat going to this. We have to heat this to the point that it would be ready to boil in order to can it. So this is a 1/4 teaspoon. I'm just gonna do like half of that, so 1/8 teaspoon of clove. Or that's allspice, sorry. And then the same with the clove. I don't have an 1/8 teaspoon measure. So let's give that a whisk, get that heated up, and then I'll bring you back and we'll taste test it again. We do have to heat this because we have to hot pack the jars, meaning the temperature of the applesauce has to be heated and go into the jars nice and warm at the same time. If you can see it, the apple is just starting to boil. I got a spoon. We need to see if we got enough sugar for sure and spice. That might be one of the best things I've ever ate. No lie, we just made this up together, you and I. This is me in my kitchen. The sugar's dissolved. It is not aggressively sweet. It's not like a jam or jelly or even like an apple butter. Like it doesn't, pumpkin pie. It doesn't have that sweetness to it. It has truly tastes like the apple, and that little hint is, that is seriously a winner. I shut it off. We don't want it to burn for sure, and then it's gonna process for 20 minutes in a hot water bath. So let me jar this up and then we'll get it in the hot water bath. I could just eat that. You don't even need to jar it. If you try this, just put it in a bowl, put it in the fridge, and that is the side with dinner tonight. You guys have to try this. If you can get a hold of these little crab apples, I don't know where else you would get them, but I seriously probably just made one of the best things I've ever created. I'll be right back. I have these apples going today, so this is my third day of processing apples. I did pumpkin pie and some other things. You might have watched that video in between. But these, excuse me, that I was showing you in the very beginning of the video are a little sweeter apple, well, a lot sweeter. And then these ones are a little bit more tart. But I have so many of them that are in just such great, look how tiny that is. They're in such great shape that Aaron and the kids, I kid you not, he just sits down at the table after work or whatever, and he just eats these apples, and so do the kids. They throw them in lunch boxes. These will end up going in the crisper drawer. They will last for months, but the ones that were kind of ugly, I have started, as you can see here, come on over. I have started them, and these are also going to become a spiced applesauce, but I'm probably going to start out with half of the sugar that I did with the tart apples in order to not over sweeten the applesauce. So let me show you how that applesauce though ended up. I want to show you a jar of it. I'll be right back. All right, as we come close to closing out, I do have a couple of points that I wanted to make before I just said goodbye in the video. First of all, the applesauce, how beautiful is the color of that? It is amazing. My whole family taste tested it last night and they all totally agree. It is absolutely one of the best things, and Caleb super loves applesauce, and so this is such a big deal that the whole other bag that I'm going to process today of apples will actually become this exact applesauce. So that is an amazing thing to be for free, 100% for free, I mean, using what's in our pantry, what we've already stocked up, the sugar and the spices and so on, I didn't have to go and purchase anything, and I got the fruit for free. The other thing I need to show you, if you do it this way, so these, they say 4 to 6 weeks before you actually eat them because they are being pickled. So what happened when I took them first out of the canner, and I've seen this somewhere and I can't tell you where, but I've learned it along the years. Maybe it's an old practice, I'm not sure. But what had happened is all of the fruit had crammed itself way up here at the top and there was nothing but juice down in the bottom. So after they sucked up, so they sealed, I flipped the jars over, and we're not shimmy shaking them, we're not stirring the air into them, we're not doing any of that, but I just left them upside down for 24 to 48 hours because it took me 2 days to make these. I have 15 jars of these done, and then now when I store them and I turn them back over, I don't know how well you can see, but you see how they really are down in the bottom. They look like cherries though, don't they? So this apple is such a beautiful, beautiful color and flavor. The texture is excellent so far, and I will let you know in 4 to 6 weeks if these were awful. But like I said, I'll link in the description box the Pinterest article that I took the recipe off of, even though I did it slightly different. So thank you those of you who have stuck around to the end. I do hope that most of you made it all the way to the end to see and hear those points and perspectives and what I've learned from making these things for my first time. I'm so blessed to have you here. I am so grateful that you would take time and have the millions of videos on YouTube that you would choose to watch anything that I am doing in my little kitchen here in Alaska. So I am so humbled and grateful that you guys enjoy it. You're uplifting, you're kind, you're generous with your words, and I just can't thank you enough. So welcome to those of you that are new around here. I would love to have you. If this is your first video, or maybe you're interested in, do we really do other things but cook in the kitchen in our homestead or on our homestead? The truth is yes. We have a lot planned that's coming up as seasons change. Our life on the homestead, we learned last year, really does change, and I welcome you to stick around and see all that we have going on. You can do that when you hit the subscribe button. When you ring the bell, you get a notification from YouTube. It tells you that we posted a new video, and then you don't miss anything we're doing. When you give us thumbs up and you leave comments, those things really do help our channel to grow. And as always, if there's someone that you think would benefit from one of the videos, one of the techniques, one of the learning experiences that we've had here or we share, you can always share the video with them as well. So thank you. I do hope blessings for you and your family in this season of being thankful and grateful for the things that we have been gifted. I hope that you're blessed. So be blessed, have an amazing week, and I will see you guys next week with some new and different things. I'll talk to you soon.